Okay, so I've been covering a lot of activist mommy lately, and this article just caught my eye. New Jersey parents win stunning victory against aggressive vaccination mandate. I didn't know she was anti-vax. So let's give this a look and see what it has to say. Parents in New Jersey can heave a sigh of relief after the state's legislature failed to pass one of the most aggressive mandatory vaccination bills ever seen. As more states eye the removal of the long protected right to refuse some or all school vaccinations on religious grounds, New Jersey was poised to pass a bill that would invalidate all religious exemptions, past and present. Where other eastern blue states like Maine and New York passed legislation to end religious exemptions for public and private school children, New Jersey's bill would also have applied to colleges and universities. The state assembly passed its version of the bill by a 45-25 vote Monday afternoon. The Senate bill was expected to pass by a small margin. Okay. It's being worded weirdly here, but basically the state assembly, I guess, is the state House of Representatives, because we have a bicameral system in most states except for Nebraska, which is unicameral. Anyway, the state assembly, I guess, is the House of Representatives, which is one of the groups on the legislative branch. And then the Senate is the second group on the legislative branch. So it passed the House by a 45-25 vote on Monday. And then the Senate bill, so now it goes to the Senate for approval. The Senate bill is expected to pass by a small margin, is what it says here. And of course, this was actually written 2 days ago, so this is very, very recent. It goes on to say, amid massive all-day protests from New Jersey's concerned parents and faith leaders, the state Senate found that they did not have enough members who were quite so eager to strip their constituents of their religious liberty. Just after 8 p.m., after several hours of waiting and chanting, protesters erupted into applause when it was announced that the Senate would not be voting on the bill. Oh, okay, so they didn't vote on the bill. They didn't vote no on the bill. They just didn't vote. So that basically pushed it back. That means they can revisit this sometime in the near future. That's a good sign. But it's, oh my God, these people, it kills me. Like, there's this whole like conspiracy thing about vaccines, about how vaccines are evil and they have mind control substances in them that hurt people and all this other ridiculous stuff. And then Trump parroted this whole bit when he was running for president, saying they should spread them out. No, we're doing what the science says here. We're going with the science. The science says there's no issue with how vaccines are given. Do you even understand how a vaccine works? That's really my question for like Donald Trump and the other people. There are different forms of how vaccines work, different versions, different ways. But here's an example of one way that vaccines work. They basically take a truncated virus, right? They have these things called virophages. Let me pull up a picture of it real fast. So this is a virophage, right? There are a bunch of different parts to this virophage. They basically, what they do when they're making a certain type of vaccine is they truncate it. They cut part of it off. They cut off the harmful part, which effectively kills the virus, but they keep the DNA part. So what happens is now they're going to inject that DNA part into you, effectively infecting you with this virus, but it's 100% harmless. Like, it doesn't have the teeth that it had before it was killed. And now your immune system can naturally deal with it without worrying about killing the kid. Like, for example, a vaccine for like measles, mumps, and rubella, they will give this kid this vaccine. His immune system can naturally deal with it as though he caught the virus naturally, but he won't be in any danger. That's how this works. And the fact that like people are freaking out about this just seriously just burns me up. Like, you got to be kidding me. You must not understand how this works or why this is so important. Look, if you want to make stupid decisions for yourself, like for you, I get it. You should have the right to be an idiot for yourself if you want, but not for your kids. And not for me, because you not getting your kids vaccinated means that it's affecting me now. And your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose. The moment what you are doing in religious beliefs or whatever reason you have, the moment it affects me is the moment you lose your right to do it. I'm sure that I've mentioned this before, but the way it affects me is something called herd immunity, where, say, 1,000 kids out of a population of 30,000 kids don't get vaccinated, then they start passing the virus around, and it starts mutating and evolving, pretty much. I know a lot of Christians don't like that word, but that's what's happening. It's evolving and mutating and getting better at what it does until the moment it's too different from the original vaccine for the vaccine to protect the kids from it anyways. It's like the flu vaccine. It changes rapidly. It changes every single year. And when they develop the flu vaccine, they can take their best guess at what it's going to be and make those changes to the virus to try to plan for it. But they're not going to get it right 100% of the time. And that's why the flu, even though it's a virus, has not been eradicated, because it mutates too quickly. However, we do notice that we get the flu vaccines right enough every year that it still does save thousands and thousands of lives. Extremely young people, like kids, up to age 8 to 10, and older people, say over 50, are the most susceptible to the flu. Now, if we didn't give the vaccines out at all, those populations of people who caught the flu, we would see, say, out of a population of 350 million, we'd see, say, 100,000 people die from it. But even getting the vaccine for the flu just a little bit wrong, because we can't get it perfect, even getting it a little bit wrong still saves thousands of lives. Like, it still lowers the death toll. So, get your vaccines, people. Seriously, even the flu vaccine. It's important. All vaccines. Just don't be stupid with your life. And with my life. Just get the vaccines. Anyway, let me continue the article. Sue Collins, co-founder of the New Jersey Coalition for Vaccine Choice, was ecstatic. Vaccine choice. The parents of New Jersey had a victory today, she said, according to the New York Times. The legislature stood with us. Yeah, but the kids had a loss. I don't think they stood with you. I think they just put it off. They could easily pass this bill after you walk away. Supporters of vaccine choice garnered the support of many lawmakers, the Times reports, including the Republican Assembly Minority Leader John Bramnick of Union County, who criticized the broad-reaching legislation on the Assembly floor. Okay, I'm marking that name down, and next time I see him, I'm going to talk about what he did here today. To tell a doctor that they cannot use their ability, their expertise, to write an exemption handcuffs doctors, Bramnick said, referring to a section of the bill which would also tighten restrictions on medical exemptions. Ultimately, though, it doesn't matter what laws are signed in. Doctors will refuse to do it if it causes harm. The oath they take as a doctor, the Hippocratic Oath, overrides government laws. That's why doctors refuse to administer the drugs to death row inmates. The battle isn't over yet, however. They can cheer all they want. We're not walking away from it, Senate President Stephen M. Sweeney said of the applause after announcing the postponement of the vote. It's just remarkable how people are looking at this and not trusting the science on it at all. They're trusting the internet. Very true. Trusting mommy groups. What's remarkable, of course, is that so many Democrat legislators are so eager to write off any dissenting thought on vaccination, abortion, or any of their pet topics as anti-science. That's because it is anti-science. Do you understand how any of this stuff works? I don't think you do, honestly. This is killing me. If these people wanted to adequately represent their constituents, they'd hear each and every one of them out and vote according to the wishes of those who elected them. I think that the best idea is to trust the science, to look at the science and understand what's actually best for the population based on that. I don't really care what some nutcase has to say about this thing or that thing. I think it's better to trust what the science is telling me. Anyway, instead, they can simply brand opponents of the bill as anti-vaxxers, which they are, and carry on their merry way. Is that a pejorative that she's using against herself? I'm not really sure. Which is exactly what they plan to do in January before the legislative session ends. Good. I'm glad that they're holding the vote again and they're just going to pass it right through. That's good to hear. Vaccine choice advocate Stephanie, I love how they're using vaccine choice as a term. Stephanie Lucriccio offered New Jersey citizens a series of updates and calls to action in preparation for the legislature's anticipated attempt to revive the bill before the session ends on January 13th. Contact Governor Murphy veto, which mandates an employee in a healthcare facility must have annual flu vaccine with no option to decline for any reason, effective immediately. Good. I have a feeling that they're probably being really hyperbolic and twisting things out of proportion a little bit here. But you know what? Any employee in a healthcare facility must have an annual flu vaccine, have the flu shot. I think I would be in favor of that for the safety of the patients, for the safety of the nursing staff. I'd be all right with that. Let's see here. Veto A1991, the bill that mandates meningitis B on all enrolled college students. Interesting. Yeah, I would be okay with that too, I think. Herd immunity is extremely important. Continue to ask for his opposition to S2173 if it comes to his desk. Contact assembly people in your district to discuss their vote. Continue to educate and meet with those that are still voting to pass mandates. These people are fools. I can't even believe that activist mommy... For some reason, I thought she was smarter than to be an anti-vaxxer. I don't know what brought me to that stupid conclusion, but I thought for sure she was smarter than that. I guess not. If you like what I do and you want to make sure I can continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, you can support me on Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I'm trying to make a shirt design for every cult I've covered. I haven't gotten every one, but I'm working on it. So check it out and see if your cult is up there. Second, you can support me by checking out my game shop. I sell controller, cartridge, and game box stands for every system from the original Nintendo and Sega Game Gear to the Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. So give that a look too. And finally, if you want to support me in some way other than monetarily, you can check out my other YouTube channels. I have a retro game channel where I answer questions like, why does Shy Guy have a mask? And why are CRT TVs the best way to play retro games? I also have the podcast where I talk about stuff I don't feel I can say on a monetized channel. And finally, I have my main channel where I talk about cults. I wish I didn't have to worry about dancing around subjects carefully in the first place, but I chose to do this as a full-time job. So unfortunately, I rely on YouTube's AdSense and on the support of patrons to continue doing the work I do. Anyways, check me out in all those places if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, guys.